goes to northeast to northwest Papa, one level higher. Right. Bus is the...
Jopet miukat. On filmodaan.
Missä meillä oli Quinlan?
Just bit peppermint.
Yes.
Alright, so welcome again now to our trench. And you see some progress. I'd like to tell you a bit about what we have done since last Thursday. And so do you remember maybe last week I divided the trench into two parts, and right now it seems to be justified to divide it into two. I mean, the first one, this eastern part, is rather boring, and this western one seems to be much more interesting. So maybe let us start with this more eastern part of the excavated area. And we still have these upper layers in here. Almost nothing is visible on the surface. We've got a couple of pits of difficult to specify character, like pits in here. So it was kind of storage pits, maybe associated with this floor. I will get back to this later on. And we have obviously couple more grave burial pits. For example, this one and this one and another one in here. And those two actually are burial pits that were just beneath those markers made of mud bricks. You saw them 2 weeks ago, I think, and we just taken them away, and exactly what we predicted, there were skeletons beneath them. And we have to, take away maybe another 20 or 10 centimeters to be able to see this pretty complicated structure that is clear in here, in this eastern part of our trench. And in terms of skeletons, because we just keep counting them all the time, and for the time being we have 70. We had 67 this morning, and we have 70 this afternoon. So everybody's wondering whether we'll be able to have 100 before we go. That's possible, but we can't promise that. And let's go to this trend, because this is much more interesting. So we have two floors. I mean, actually one floor and two that looks as if it is separate buildings. In this part of the trench and in this part of the trench, and it is clearly separated by wall that was in here, and another wall here, and obviously there was nothing of this similar sort between those two walls. So we think that we have here two different buildings, rooms from the same face, and it's possible that they can be dated to the end of Roman period, beginning of Byzantine period, more or less. So actually, it's a completely new thing in our area. That is to say, this kind of settlement that was older than this cemetery we excavated over the last few weeks. And those two houses or rooms or whatever they were burnt, and that is absolutely clear. You see this destruction of this wall, the burnt mud bricks, and the same applies to this one, this part of our excavated area. And probably there were some of these walls were made of mud bricks, and some others, I think, from made of wood, some kind of wood mud construction, because we have, you know, the charcoals, actually the pieces of burnt wood in this part, in this small layer. And after this house was burned and abandoned as a result, another kind of storage facility was built in the center of our excavated area, and you see it here. It was a layer of fire. In some places you see the ashes and then charcoal, and there was one layer of bricks on top of this layer, from this side and from that side. On this, what appears as if a wall. So it was an older wall, and on top of this, another layer of bricks was built, and we have found a huge storage pit in here. So it is what you saw last week. We excavated this pit last week, and we have found here a lot of pottery, copper, and one coin. So it is from this area. And what next could I say? I mean, maybe getting back for a while to these two floors, we have found a lot of storage vessels, huge storage vessels. You see them on the surface, like here and here, and there was plenty of them down there as well. And in this part of in this house, I think, or room, we have found a fallen wall in this part, and this rubble, it's maybe a roof construction, or maybe it's a wall construction, because when you look here, you see the surface, and it just hasn't been taken yet, this part, and it is sort of burnt mud brick in this part. And next, we have just exposed this stone construction, and we don't know at this moment what it can be, and whether it's contemporary to those two houses or not. It is not certain, and the orientation it's not very typical for this, at least for this horizon, for this layer. And we have to, you know, draw this construction, and then take it away and see what is beneath. So we can't say at this moment what that. And probably the most important thing at this moment in this wall, that is what we believe is Neolithic. Maybe it's a wishful thinking, but at least at the end of our stay here, we have to have something that at least appears as if it is Neolithic. And it consists of two layers of bricks. Maybe it's not very clear now, but I'll try to show you how it is. It is like that. We have this wider and more narrow brick in here, and these bricks are about 30 to 35 centimeters, and they are not very regular, but it is clear. They were clear on the surface, and when we have taken away this 5 centimeters deep layer, it is still clearly visible. So, and obviously that is difficult right now to see of how this construction looks like in this part. We have two walls. I mean, actually one wall with two bricks wall here, with something that looks as if it is a plaster from this side and plaster from that side. And this wall is obviously earlier, so this one does not belong to this whole construction. And when you see here, it was just like a corner, but it is again 20 centimeters above this level, so we have to take away this layer from these trenches, and to see of whether our predictions are correct or not. And what next? Obviously, the burial cuts. You see them very clearly here and here. So they both are earlier than all the construction I have been talking about. And probably we'll have another one here. And interestingly, all of them had something on top of them. In this corner, another one. So, and this, as you see, the clear separation. This wall was destroyed by this burial cut that is earlier than the wall itself, but this cut has not destroyed this over. So as you see, this topographic situation is pretty complicated, and we still need more than a week just to be able to say something about the Neolithic and about the layout of the Neolithic houses. So I doubt that it would be possible to define really where the Neolithic house is by the time we go this summer.
So, Eric, you were saying these graves are earlier, or do you mean really later than the house?
No, they were built after that, after the house was built.
That's later.
That's what I wanted to say. Yes, this destroyed. I mean, this part of the wall was destroyed by.
Right. So you meant later.
Yeah.
Were you able to save any charcoal for dendrochronological purposes?
We did some samples even from dendrology. And obviously they can be used for dendrochronology as well. So we saved some samples.
Yeah, good.
They're big enough even for dendrology.
Yeah.
Not to mention dendrochronology, obviously.
There's virtually no preserved wood from the late Roman period from all the Banach.
We've got some preserved wood.
So very nice to have some.
Whenever it's possible, we take samples.
Yeah, there's a lot of burnt wood on this end.
Yeah, so we have taken samples from this part and with a lot of here as well. Whenever it's possible, we have samples.
What's that yellow stuff?
This yellow stuff? I don't it's difficult to say, but it's sort of mineralogy of
Something
difficult to
burned.
specify. It's
Some kind of burned material.
at a very high temperature, probably. That is how it was produced. And you see more these very yellowish and white colors in this part next to the oven.
I know, you have very unusual
unusual.
colors in here.
Yeah.
Like you have purples and blues and all sorts of coloring that we don't find in
Even pinks.
our burnt context.
And those two layers are very similar of the colors and the
So far, then you don't have any burials that go with these two periods.
No.
These two.
No.
Possibly, maybe that one is. Where is it?
Where?
The one you're coming down on.
Maybe this one, yes.
Yeah, because it's in a different direction.
Yes,
Sort of
possible, but not-
pre-Christian
Yeah,
direction.
pre-Christian direction, but not the.
Right, obviously.
And this one.
No, I wondered if you'd had someone
Yeah.
somewhere over there.
That's possible.
But that one may be.
Yeah, but if it were pre-Christian,
No.
would you expect those stones?
Sorry, I think for the Roman.
Would we expect
What?
stones on top?
Would you expect these stones on top if it were?
Well, they had, didn't they West have some Hellenistic graves with stones, or was it all Byzantine?
Yeah, was it?
Byzantine.
Byzantine.
Yeah.
But in this orientation, north, south?
North side, no, everything we have is east-west.
Exactly
Yeah,
so.
this is
It's
very
something
early.
different. Maybe it's a burial, but
We had a north-south burial which we thought was pre-Christian, which was sort of completely different from.
But it didn't have anything on top end.
No.
It was just a regular field. So
yeah.
But then it was very close to the surface, so they may have taken the stones.
And interestingly, because
Yeah,
we,
that's true.
as you remember, maybe we had this stone construction exactly in the same part of the area, and you see in the cross sections, not directly above, but more or less. Obviously, they're from different
Yeah.
periods.
By
But interestingly, it's the same place.
Well, we had a Byzantine grave directly over the Neolithic one.
Really?
I thought it was very significant, others did not.
So One example of this burial constructions. I mean the mud brick around the cut. Not the only one, but any questions?
Tylko zdejmijcie te, wiesz,
No, actually not.
Karimaty.
This wall was we have found a lot of Sorry?
I'm just wondering if the fire was really, the temperature was burned quickly.
Rzeczywiście dzisiaj ślicznie. Widziałaś Aśku? Góry, jakieś piękny widok? Nie w tą stronę.
Big guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Laurie. Yeah, how to?
180?
And more than that. I'm 160, so. I think he's
175.
I'll go with 180. This is science in action. Here's a little smaller one for you. Younger.
Whoever gets cooked.
If you lay down next to it, Eric, you would be in National Geographic. In a funny sort of way.
We prefer female model.
All right. Go
I
ahead, Russ.
Oh, yeah. Very subtle. But that one is. That one, I just.
But see, we don't know if it was a male or female.
Did you say anything on the pelvis over there, Linda?
Laurie,
Yeah.
any clue? Male or female?
This one looks like a female. Looks like it's something about 20 or so. Not quite. I can't quite see it, but you can see part of the thing isn't fused, which usually fuses 18 to 20. It looks like it's just starting to fuse. That one over there. But this one.
I looked at your sacrum thing.
Oh yeah? The sacrum looks male on the one. I just couldn't see it close enough to tell, but that one looks very female. You can see the image. And it looks like even the symptoms of the vertebrae haven't fused. I don't know, Erica, what do you think? Piquing your interest, is it?
Eric? May I look at one of the larger pieces of
Byzantine
charcoal?
stuff needs to be looked at.
There.
This one?
Yeah, just I guess it's coming in.
Yeah.
Sorry. Probably. That's around the right age. All right, have to talk to him. Yeah, I know you have.
That's right. Yeah, I think. Well, the
This makes sense.
She's looking at the pelvic area, I think.
I see.
Well, Peter Cunningham would be delighted if he were to.
So we'd like to get as much as possible.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But that happens,
Yeah,
as the ground settles.
There's just nothing
Especially
like
if they had stones on top. There's many of them have big bricks, and it kind of squashes the ground, and then people tread on it. And yeah, if it's deeper, it's actually better preserved.
Yeah, sure.
And these graves are not very deep below the Byzantine.
We tried collecting wood,
Below the Byzantine level.
but it doesn't fit with the Eastern Mediterranean profile. It fits with the Alpine.
This one
wood.
is.
Seems to have been brought in from the Alps. So
And they go.
the wood from Pompeii and Herculaneum doesn't help us with the Roman period. So anything that could be Roman.
Oh, Ruth, you're dying to know about that guy, huh?
Actually, it doesn't look so big when I'm down
No,
here.
and the thing is that whatever the measurement is from head to the ankle is about what it's going to be, give or take a couple of centimeters, because it's laying down pretty well undisturbed. So whatever that measurement is, we should do it.
Yeah, actually, I think my legs are longer. Oh no, maybe not with the hook.
No.
And we know that it was built as a settlement and then later abandoned. And after a while.
All right, let's go to the BACH tent. Let's
Well, I
not
don't
keep
know
them
whether
waiting in that
there's been a
sauna.
chronological correlation between this settlement phase and your burials.
Right.
That's possible.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because we had ceramics which dated some of the burials.
Yes, and we have this funny Roman things. We have a coin, and we have the oil lamps on the surface. So on the floor. Yes. So it's like so I wanted.
Well, you come down so far. Is that what you were getting at? How far down you are? But it's still not too often. But you know what that means? The next they're going to be top of the mound. They were obviously overusing it for a cemetery. Let's get on with it before we. Okay, so we have made some progress since the last week, and we are slightly deeper down, but we are still digging in two phases. This whole part of the house, this area where I'm standing, this platform, and that platform, an earlier phase, which is our phase 1, as it is now, and the western part of the house, which is this part of the central floor, and then this whole western area, and this whole area is in a later phase, which is our phase 2. Right. Okay. So, if you remember last week, what we had here on top of this floor, or this packing that you can see right now, we had a nice white floor covering this whole platform and this corner, and we had a big basin-like feature that was made of nice white plaster, and that was some sort of processing area. And along with that, what we have, it seems that these bins, it's possible that these bins that we can see still here were in use at that time, and then we had this so-called dirty floor, which is the gray floor over here.
and then the floor that you can see now, and then the continuation of that was the same kind of floor, and this wall was not in place then, but there was a little threshold-like little step over here. And in this corner, you had bins that looked like storage bins. So this is like processing storage area. And at that time, the oven that was in use was in our so-called kitchen area. And that oven was terribly damaged, and it's this one here that was cut very heavily by the features that came on top of it. So you have then the oven in the kitchen and the storage processing over there. And then below that floor that we had last week, is this situation where the oven now is in this corner, in the very corner, southwest corner of the building. And in this corner we had, in the previous phase, the phase that was on top of the phase that we were in the last week, we had another oven in exactly the same place. So you have the alternation of ovens from this to this area all the time. But the storage area stays the same, more or less. So far, the only real storage area that we have found in this house is right in that corner, northwest corner of the building. And then this storage processing area here in the middle. We are also, as you can see, we are now down on the right. Another thing, interesting thing, is that the central part of this space seems now had an earlier screen wall. We have had a screen wall in the upper phases, and we thought it was fairly late, and it was. That part of it was fairly late addition to the house, and that was when the house, this area of the house, Western, was totally separated from the rest of the house. But we now see that if this screen wall goes deeper down, and probably to the very first floors in the house. But it didn't have to be very tall. It could have been just some sort of little separation, not very high. But what we had next to it, though, is a feature whose remains are very badly preserved. But it went from here, from this little post, and probably up to here. We had a little ridge in this area, and was later cut by all these later cuts. And this seems to be a step-like or passage-like little feature, and that could be said based on the type of material that we have and the type of the deposits in this clay, which are all horizontally laid out very nicely, almost like floors, but it's not a floor. And it wasn't a floor, and we can see that these floors that I'm standing on, the floors are all ending there, and just abutting that little step. And what else we can see here is that this screen wall, or this little partition between the two spaces, had the problems on the level of this phase 2, on the level of this floor, and there is a cut that goes from here to there. That was probably a reparation of that, fixing of that problem. And what else you can see is that the floors in our phase 1 are slightly different, look different. You can see that the type of white plaster is a little more yellowish, and it's softer, and it's not as thick and massive as the plasters that we had in the later phases. And also it became completely clear, this was clear some time ago, but now it's totally completely clear, that the kitchen originally had a very roundish shape, so-called kitchen area. And you can see here that this end of it, the west end of it, it was cut into this platform. And then it went, you can see the traces, all of you who are sitting there, you can see the nice traces on the floors of the plasters and patterns. And so it went like this, and this is the other roundish end of it. and it went like that, and then along this little platform. So it was unusual shape. It was really roundish, and here most likely we'll see when we go slightly deeper. We had a bench-like feature right in front of the post that was sitting in that post retrieval pit. What else, Ruth?
No burials yet.
No burials at all.
That thing
which
was
is
supposed to produce
very
by this
surprising.
week. We should
Yeah.
have had at least 2 holes.
That's right. We had expected to have burials show in this floor. However, there are more sub-phases of this phase below, and we can easily come from.
And
right
here possibly we're coming on to here where the floor has been broken.
Right. In this area, there are some traces
And
of
possibly
possible
over there.
burials.
So we're still hoping for that. This one turned out to be nothing. So, but we're not really disappointed. We just need more work for Laurie and the team.
Yeah. We do have some cuts, such as this one here. We had another cut that we thought could have been a burial, but it wasn't, and it's probably an empty cache of some sort, maybe obsidian cache. And this could be the same or similar thing. However, we could have one here, probably in this round blackish soil. That'd be very nice because it's near the oven, and we know that they had their caches, obsidian caches near ovens. Right. Any questions? That's good. No questions. Easy. Oh, I forgot to tell you about this little feature here. Laurie will tell you about it. Laurie, what is this called?
And the one next to it. And the one next to it.
That's
One that Mira wouldn't let me take out.
No, you were supposed to say it differently.
What is it called?
What is it?
And this is Ruth's little feature. What is this little feature?
This is my lip removal bump. And that is Laurie's lip removal bump. We're removing lips of the previous platform level.
Yeah, this platform is interesting because it has here nice sides, but then in the front, it went in this full face, it went down this way.
Yeah,
It didn't have a little...
these earlier platforms don't have lips, basically.
Okay.
Are we going to the west? The west is,
What do you think, Trina?
I mean, I can give you a summary of what we did this week.
you'd rather do it in the tent.
Well, I just think it's a little bit.
They can come over
Or
and
you-
take photos if they want to see it.
Yeah, we're going to go take photos at 6 o'clock this evening. So if anyone actually wants to come and see the grave, because we have to backfill it next week. Basically, there's not a huge amount to see, and I think next week might be a better time to actually. We should have everything ready then. But what I can just tell you. When we finally removed the burial from that amazing grave, Pete was excavating it. He discovered that underneath there was something like 15 centimeters of soil between the base of the coffin and the actual base, the tile base of the grave. It's actually tiled all on the base, decorated tile like on the top. And about 5 centimeters down in one area, he got this very sort of mud-cracked lens, which would imply that, in fact, the grave had been open for a while after it had been constructed, before the body was actually placed in. And it looked like a series of flooding events had actually come into the hole. Basically, there was also an awful lot of carbonized grain sitting on top of that, so maybe it was almost like a flotation tank, all this flooding coming in and the grains rising to the surface. So that was very interesting. I mean, it's not really surprising, I suppose, a grave of that quality, that caliber. It looks like some big guy commissioned his grave, painted it all in white plaster with red decoration, and then obviously left it open for maybe several months before he actually popped his clogs, as it were, and went in there.
That's fine.
So, yeah, that was the scientific. Apart from that, we've been discovering our mud brick walls at last, hurrah. So we do have a potential, though I wouldn't like to confirm it, northern extent to our building that we excavated last year. these walls are coming up at the moment. They're still a bit scrappy because we haven't taken a huge amount of soil off because we think we can see them higher up. We'll show you the walls next week and they should be well defined, but there is an interesting development which I actually really don't want to, I think next week we'll confirm that development, so I'll leave that there. Apart from that, we've just got a huge amount of Byzantine disturbance. We seem to have this enormous pit that's taken over the whole western area of our trench, and it's just filled with just rubbish debris, mainly an awful lot of concrete, some painted plaster, a lot of broken tile, fish bones everywhere and fish scales. So we don't really know what's going on, but it's interesting. And that is a very, very big pit, enormous in fact, several meters, 5 meters. It's growing by the second anyway. It's taken over, it's got a swimming pool really at the west end of our trench. So that's really it, but that would be good if we just have the one Byzantine pit rather than a large number of Byzantine burials. It will save us a lot of bother. So that's basically what we've been doing this week. Anything else? Oh yeah, we've also found, one other thing we found is a very compact surface, which is cut by the Byzantine pit. It's terribly hard and compact, and what we need to do is establish a relationship between this surface and that wall that you saw last week, which has stones in it, which may be a later version of a chalcolithic wall, and what we have on the southern edge of it, which is potentially chalcolithic room infill. Coming onto a surface. So if we have chalcolithic on one side, we'd like to know if the surface on the other side is potentially chalcolithic. So that's it. Enough.
Okay, that's it. Anybody lose a Nikon lens cap? Hanger's got it. You still have it? Yeah.
It says Nikon in his program.
It does, and it's little.
Yeah, it must be also if it's little.
Oh, yeah, it's one of that's probably going to be off
Okay, well, our people don't leave. Where are our people? Hello, the BACH team, stay. Stay. Stay over.
Carry things down.
Well, you close that. I'm all about taking the crap down. Then it looks like my next fine box. That's my first job.
It looks different.
It looks different, but I want to know why it goes like that. Why it goes like that. Things in the middle, fat people in the middle.
Yours is mine, ours.
That's why that's not just tea. What is it? No. The
Okay, guys, can you?
This is what we missed before. We missed that one before, I think, and that one actually goes with this one. I know. But then look at this. I'm not quite sure what that means. We cut everything. The cut we had was very good.
Gloria, this is I've been taking care of this book.
You know why? People took it out of the pit. Out my permission. No. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is because there it is cut. Give me something. We had the clear one before it. Now we've got this. These pictures here, they're really sitting on the wall. It's kind of small.
So those muscles. How about Carrie's shirt?
I was hoping when they took the capping off this one that there'd be a cut in here, but I don't.
But that's a definite cut. This?